Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Welcome to another episode of Intentionality, the show dedicated to improving the success rate of entrepreneurs and their businesses by helping them become successful suppliers. I am your host, Dominique Simpson-Milton. Today's show is being brought to you by our friends at Altria in conjunction with CVMSDC, also known as the Council. The Council is an economic growth engine for ethnic minority business owners and serves as an advocate group to help minority business enterprises with certification, development, connection, and advocacy. On today's show, I am excited to welcome Ron Carey, CEO of Till Creative Production, which is a creative studio that provides original ideas for people who want to change things. Ron, welcome to the show.
Dominique, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yes. Now, we've done this a few times, but today we want to share with our listeners your success story, right? The why you've taken this journey and help other entrepreneurs to become successful through some of the tips that you're going to provide. So tell us how you started Till Creative and why you started.
Yeah, Tilt was a germ of an idea. I think I always loved entrepreneurship. And always had a desire to kind of figure out what's a service or a product that we could bring to market that was special. And I was running an advertising agency at the time. This is back in 2014 through 2018, and decided to buy that company and take it private. And thought that combining an advertising agency with a video production company with post-production capabilities would be an efficient way for brands to kind of produce content and tell stories.
So tip number one for our listeners, you had experience before you walked into this business.
I did have experience, and I spent a number of years in the advertising world, which gave me a chance to just learn and hone the vision for what I thought I wanted to create it, and that was invaluable. Right?
Excellent. So some people really don't understand what advertising and marketing is, right? They think they do, but give us a real life example of a problem that you solved with advertising.
Yeah, I think the what I like to tell folks is when you're thinking about building a brand and telling stories, that's what advertising is. It's not taking something. Sometimes folks will take something that isn't a great product or service and try and tell a story. You can drive trial one time.
Okay.
But if it's a bad product or a bad service, they're not coming back regardless of how good the advertising or the marketing message is. But if it's a really authentic message and you're taking Audi, for instance, or you're taking Walmart and you're talking about a specific product and the unique features of that, and it's something that someone cares about, and you're enhancing that and bringing it to light and telling it in a really succinct way that someone can feel connected with whatever that product or service may be, that's what advertising and marketing should be.
It should be. I love what you did with the Audi commercial, right? Because you tell a story, right? It's a generational story. So you really get pulled into what you've done. And when you leave, you're going to remember that story.
Indeed. And I think what's unique about the particular thing that you're referencing, and many may not have seen it, but we told the story of Audi and specifically the Avant over 3 generations within a family of color. And so to me, that is one of the most impactful pieces of content that we've ever developed in partnership with the folks at Audi and the creative director and the creative works team. But it was amazing because you looked across 3 generations of people of color driving Audis, enjoying things that many other citizens around the world enjoy.
So how do our viewers get to see that?
They can go online. If you search online for Audi Avant, A-V-A-N-T, you will find the Audi Avant, which is the wagon. It was launched in North America, and the content we developed was the only content developed in North America before the launch of the vehicle.
Excellent. So you talk about the pursuit of ideas, Ron. Why is that important?
I think it feeds the soul. Regardless of what business you're in, you have a dream or vision, and you want to see that come to life. I had a vision or a dream along with partners about what I thought Tilt could be. I had no idea, but it's then going about the exercise and the frustrations and the trials of trying to figure that out. And then there are wonderful people who join the vision and the dream, and then they start to put their own unique twist on it, which then takes the dream to a place that you couldn't even have imagined.
I love it. Let's talk about diverse teams. Because I've been to your studio, I've seen your teams, and it's diverse, right?
Yep.
Your work is diverse, your clientele is diverse. Talk about the importance of diversity.
I think for storytellers, that's a powerful place, right? We don't all come from the same place. We have different life experiences. whether it be a Caucasian, African American woman, regardless of what your sexual identity may be, right? But we all come from a different perspective, and that creates more interesting stories because we don't all look at the world in the same way.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you knew, I used to be an advertiser.
I did
I
not
worked
know that.
for Darcy Macy's Bend Bowls.
You had never shared that.
Yes, right in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, what I learned there is if you have a team that's homogenous, everybody around the table looks the same, that output, what you're going to produce is not as rich, it's not as deep as if we have a diverse team, like you said, with age, backgrounds, colors, you know, bring a diverse team to the table and they'll look at that problem, they'll solve that problem completely different.
Yep.
And that's why corporations need to engage a diverse supply chain, diverse employees, because of the output. It's been proven that companies are more profitable, they're more agile when they have diverse perspectives.
I think you know this about my background. So I spent a good chunk of my life and career in corporate running HR companies. And the power of diverse thought, the power of diverse life experience, diverse supplier bases, right? We just start to look at things and think about them in a very different way. And that's, you know, I've got a speaking engagement coming up with a large Fortune 500 CEO. And that's one of the conversations that we will get into is, how do you think about your supplier base? And isn't your supplier base and the supplier community that diverse supplier may come from, isn't that community better off as a result of you having invested in a diverse supplier base?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very important. Okay, so let's talk about some advice that you would give to business owners, someone starting out. We talk about a lesson that you've learned through your business development.
Yeah. I think, you know, the biggest lesson that sticks with me is don't be deterred, right? Be resilient. There are going to be days on the journey that you feel like you're not going to make it. And it's not just about you. All of us go through it, and it doesn't matter how successful someone is or what trial they may be going through at that point. Everyone is seeking to figure out, how do I continue to move forward? And so the way that I think about doing that, continuing to move forward and being resilient, is, who do you have in your camp? What do your advisors look like? Who's lifting you up and listening to you when you've spent far too much time inside of your own brain, challenging yourself? And that's the other piece is, you know, I encourage folks to think about getting outside of your own space, because if you spend too much time in your own head, there are lots of things you can convince yourself not to do.
There you go.
Have your team, your group of advisors. Continue to move forward. Make sure that you take a break, right? Find those moments, where you can seek peace and then think. And when you can do that, you're going to stand a much better chance at being successful.
I love that. And I also heard you say, don't get too high or too low.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a mantra I picked up. I played sports all my life and played football in college. And I think that's an important thing, which is, and I had a coach who taught me that, he's like, you know, you're winning today and you're doing great. Tomorrow that may not be the case, but don't ride that wave. Try and get yourself to a good midpoint and continue to advance and move forward.
It's important. And I love what you said is being resilient, right? So that's having resolve, right? So I always tell my young people, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. So if you don't get that contract, right, you're not going to get salty.
That's right.
You don't get salty. You find out why, and then you figure out a way to go back and bid on that contract next time so that you can win.
That's exactly right. And I think, you know, understand, I use this with my team sometimes. We're planting seeds, right? Those seeds might go to harvest tomorrow. They might go next year. They might be 2 years. One of our more significant relationships that we have started with an $80,000 contract. They're probably now our third largest client. Wow. And we do work for them all over the place. But it started with something small, and it took a very long time to get in, but we just kept planting seeds with them.
I want to stick on that point for a minute, because a lot of people miss that, right? So they think, oh, that job is below me, or volunteering for that opportunity is below me. Anytime I call you, you're ready to volunteer, right? Because, you know, that's part of marketing. I look at volunteering as, okay, that's my investment in time with that particular organization. I don't know what it's going to turn into, but you have to be willing to start small, as our grandparents told us, to crawl before you walk.
Crawl before you walk, yep.
So if you understand that concept and you do that, you never know what you're going to be blessed with.
No, that's exactly right. And excuse me, I think it's incredible. You can think about your media, right? And you asked me about marketing advertising before. Paid, you can pay for your media, which means if it's your marketing, how much money do I want to allocate it? You can earn it. Someone gives you a call and says, I'm going to give you an opportunity to come and speak, right? And so there are lots of ways that you can promote your business. It doesn't always have to be about selling it. So It's a flywheel, and if you can keep the flywheel moving and constantly have those opportunities to be sharing some good news about what's going on with your business or your capabilities in a way that doesn't feel like selling, that's a win, and you need to take advantage.
It's a win-win. And I like to tell people, one of my mantras is you do something outside of your comfort zone every single day. You have to stretch yourself. And that means meeting new people, doing things that make you uncomfortable, or just challenging yourself in a unique way, bring a different person onto your team and thinks differently than you do. That'll take you much further.
Push yourself to show up in some places that you wouldn't normally show up in. And just sometimes understand you may be the only person in the room who's going to look like what you look like. But it's okay. You've got to find that common connection point. And there is one, but find that common connection point of who you want to engage with. Are there people in the room? I always think about our business from the perspective of, am I showing up in places where potential clients and customers can be, right? That's not the only reason to be there, but that's one of the reasons that it's like, let's take that extra event in the evening, and all of a sudden I've built some really interesting relationships just by showing up at some of the right events.
That's good. And then you could bring other people along.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So talk about the future. What do you see happening in the future in your industry?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about the future. I think it's not just our industry. There's lots of discussion about generative AI technology. I think that there is going to be a tremendous impact just in terms of how technology will transform how we all think about our business, the process of production, the process of script writing, the process of developing content. So incredibly encouraged by that, excited by it. I think the transformation, parts of it will be disruptive, parts of it will be transformational just in terms of how we tell stories. But that's one of the things I'm excited about. And then more broadly, just I think in terms of the next generation of talented, creative people that are coming along that are finding new and different ways to tell stories.
Yes, very good, very good. What gives you hope?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I always look at my 3 daughters. And for me, that's the piece that I get excited about, because I look at that generation and they're about to have their chance to step up and set some different expectations for what the world needs to look like, how we need to operate, what should the priorities be, where should we kind of focus as a country in terms of our resources. So that's the piece that gives me hope.
Very, very good. So Ron, if you were starting all over again, what piece of advice would you give to someone, something that you've learned that, you say, okay, you don't have to go through what I went through. What would you teach them, tell them?
I think that the biggest thing that I would say is make your plan. And my father often says this to me, make your plan and then go ahead and take the leap, right? Often we can convince ourselves not to take the leap for a variety of different reasons, right? I sometimes will use the metaphor of you're standing at the airplane door, you got the parachute on, but you can't force yourself to jump out of the plane. I would encourage folks that is the biggest challenge right there, is making sure that you can figure out how to control and manage those thoughts that you've got, so that you can go ahead and convince yourself that if you've made the appropriate arrangements and plans, you've given this great thought, you've tested the premises, and you feel like something is there, then take the leap.
Did I tell you I jumped out of an airplane?
You did not.
I did. I'm in the 1% club, right? So I went up there and it was time to jump, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this jump, but I had to take that leap. So I know you have to do it. And I was one and done though. Okay. I'm not going back.
Check. I've done it.
So I do want to touch on one more point. Sure. The sales cycle. Some people get frustrated. They don't understand the sales cycle, right? They think, okay, I'm in business. I've got a great product or service. I'm going to call and sell, and I'm going to get this contract, and, it's done. No, it takes a long time, and you got to be able to feed your family while you're waiting for the contract. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think that, I mentioned earlier planting seeds. I've accepted the fact a long time ago that you're fortunate if we could close a piece of business tomorrow. Generally, we're not going to start working on that piece of business for 2 to 3 months if we're lucky, right? That's generally. There are much bigger things that you understand that you're planting seeds for those things that may not take, they may be a year or 2 years.
Yes.
What I would say is if you're in a position where all of a sudden you don't have other cash flow, right, that may mean that you're working a job while you're continuing to chase your vision. If you have built your business and you're fortunate enough to have some cash reserves, operating cash, you're understanding that I've got to continue to make those investments, and as frustrated as I might get, I can't give up. I can't stop, right? There's people who are relying on you to kind of be successful. So, just because it doesn't happen today doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means you need to keep knocking at that door, keep finding different ways, keep asking the question, what do I need to do differently? And challenge yourself and be open to the fact that maybe what you're presenting sometimes isn't as good as it should be or could be. Maybe you're not presenting it the right way. Maybe there's a flaw in the product or the feature or the service that doesn't differentiate enough. So what I would say is be persistent, be resilient, but also be open to challenging yourself to say, is there a better, different way to do this?
That is excellent. You have to be coachable. Absolutely, absolutely. So finally, we want to close. I want to talk about your reach. So your company, can you service clients all over the world?
Yeah, we service clients all over North America. That was part of the vision from the very beginning. I was interested in building a business that's scalable. Most of our clients are not based in Virginia. They're across North America. And then we, of course, do work globally with some of our partners in terms of content development.
Ron, thank you so much for being here today.
Dominique, a pleasure to be with you.
Always, always. If you are interested in more information on the services that Tilt Creative and Production provides, please email Ron at ron.carey, that's C-A-R-E-Y, at tiltcp.com. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode, and remember that we must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business. I'm Dominique Simpson-Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.